Oop, bumped the table. Howdy folks, so my name is Chris, and today I'd like to do a review of a couple different kinds of jungle boots and hopefully tell you everything you need to know about reproduction jungle boots. I'm not super prepared for this video because it was one of those things that I just had on my mind about wanting to do for the past couple of weeks, and I didn't do it, and I thought, you know what, why not just throw them all on the table and try it. So I love jungle boots. I have a bunch of different pairs of them, a lot of originals. The one thing that I like to start with is this original one. So I have a bunch of different originals, and I really like the Vietnam Vibrem sole, the old Vibrem sole. The problem is they always crack. I don't know if you can see this one, but I tried to shoe goo it, and I've had probably 5 or 6 pair of these original Vibrem sole jungle boots, and they all crack. I've had used ones and they cracked. I've had new old stock ones, never worn, dated like 1966, 67, some of them up into 1968. Every single one of them cracked, which is a huge bummer because a lot of times the Vietnam sole or the Vibrem sole jungle boots originals can cost between like 100 and 250 bucks. And if you wear new old stock ones and you mess them up, then it's a piece of history that's gone forever. So sorry, I'm coughing a little bit. So I wanted to find a good replacement for these, the original ones. So a while ago I did a review on these here. These are the SM Wholesale jungle boots. They're 1967 model, and these are pretty darn good. I had talked in my last video about how they compare to originals, and I'd say they're probably like 8.5 out of 10 or so. I've been wearing these ones for about 3 months now, and they're holding up pretty well. There are a couple major differences between the SM Wholesale jungle boots and the originals like these. And that is, number one, the leather is a little bit thicker than the original jungle boot leather, and it's stiffer. So breaking these in is a nightmare. Like, it took me probably a solid 2 months of suffering to break it in. After I got it broken in, they're really nice. I mixed them up with my original jungle boots, and from 10 feet away, it's really hard to tell the difference if you can at all. The stitching on these ones, one of these, yeah, here, I don't know if you can see that, but the stitching right here at the points on the, I guess they call this the vamp, is coming loose on this one. It's not a huge deal, not a crazy repair to make. It can be done, but just a bit of a bummer. And the sole, sorry it's dirty, is very, very similar to the original one. The only difference is, on the original sole, right at these last lugs here, right where you have your arch, it's thicker right here, and then it kind of curves down into a thinner sole where the lugs start. Whereas on the SM Wholesale jungle boot, the foot, the bottom of the sole is the same height all the way through. So that's not really a huge deal. I mean, that's really getting into nitpicky. The one thing that I don't like about the SM Wholesale sole is that it is softer leather, or not softer leather, it's softer rubber. So it's much softer rubber than originals. A lot of folks might say, well, the originals, the rubber hardened over the years. That's true, but when you compare it to a modern Vibrem sole on this Belstaff jungle boot, the Vibrem rubber is denser and smoother, whereas the SM Wholesale rubber is spongier and a little bit rougher. So I've had boots that had the modern Vibrem sole on them, and that sole lasts like 5 years if you get a good boot. These ones I think will probably last maybe a year and a half. I might get 2 years out of it. I've had original jungle boots with the Panama sole, which I'm wearing right now, that have lasted me about 2 years. So I think you can get 2 years out of original Panama sole jungle boots. Original Vibrem sole jungle boots, you're gonna be really freaking lucky if you find one that doesn't crack. I've had like 5-6 pairs of these and they've all cracked, which is a huge bummer. So SM Wholesale, I think you might get a year and a half out of them. If they did something to make the rubber denser, like the modern Vibrem soles, I think they would last a lot longer. But essentially, we're talking about disposable boots here. So like in Vietnam, these things were probably really only designed to make it through a tour. So you're looking at, 12 months, 13 months, whatever. So the other day I got, I don't know why I decided to do this, because I have more jungle boots than I can wear in a lifetime. But I wanted to be able to compare the What Price Glory jungle boot to the SM Wholesale jungle boot. And they are two different patterns. So this is the first pattern, the type 1, that has the leather up at the top, has the leather back strap that goes all the way up. These typically didn't have spike protection, and they don't have this nylon reinforcement webbing here. The second pattern, which I have an original pair in the house that I should have brought out, the only change they did is the back strap and the top strap are of the nylon, but they don't have the side strap yet. So I was thinking, okay, well, I want to get a pair of these type 1s, and What Price Glory is the only company that I know that makes one, and I've heard good things about them. So I ordered them. They were like $115, and by the time they arrived at the house, it was $135. I'm not impressed. I don't think I like these at all, and I will tell you why. So the leather on these is the same thickness as the original one, which is cool, but the leather feels softer. It just doesn't feel as dense of a leather grain as the original ones. So that's a little bit of a bummer, but it's not terrible. It's not terrible. The canvas is definitely much thinner. It's not the same thickness as the originals. And the rubber sole is also about on par with the SM Wholesale rubber sole. On this one, they do have that little ledge next to the V in the Vibrem. They do have that little ledge step down. So that is technically more accurate. So if you're a real historical stitch counter, this sole pattern is more closely replicant of the original one than the SM Wholesale, and it is made of similar rubber to the SM Wholesale. So in terms of durability between What Price Glory and SM Wholesale, I think the rubber soles are gonna be pretty much identical. In terms of durability for the leather uppers, I think hands down the SM Wholesale wins. In terms of durability for the canvas, it's definitely SM Wholesale again. They win. SM Wholesale uses a leather footbed. So inside of these jungle boots, if you cut them apart, you have the rubber sole, and then you have a piece of leather, and then on this version you'll have a spike plate and another piece of leather. and the top piece of leather is what your foot rests on and you walk on. The originals had a cushion in there that helped push water out of the side of the jungle boot. Neither of these have that cushion, but what SM Wholesale does have is they use leather in their construction, whereas the What Price Glory uses cardboard, which is utter crap. It's just junk. What Price Glory covers their cardboard footbed up with an insole, which is also pretty junk. So the SM Wholesale is made, you know, super close to the original one, and I would call the SM Wholesale a real boot. You know, this is real footwear quality. It's probably going to last you like a year and a half, maybe 2 years, but it feels like real footwear. Whereas the What Price Glory feels like a costume boot. You put it on, it just does not feel like real footwear. It's everything about it is just thinner and softer and less dense than what I would consider a real boot. The cardboard footbed is just a deal breaker for me. And the other problem is, one thing that boot companies do when they do reproduction boots is they try to appeal to as many customers as possible. And so what they do is they make their stock boot, instead of having like a narrow width, regular width, wide, and extra wide, they do extra wide as their standard one. So if you have a regular sized foot, wide is okay. You could put an insole in there, you can wear thicker socks, no problem. So SM Wholesale uses an extra wide last, which, even though it is considered a double wide, it's still manageable. You can put an insole in there and make out just fine. The What Price Glory, I don't know what they were thinking. This is like huge. It is just unwearably huge. It's almost like they used a triple extra wide or a quadruple extra wide. It's just so much more roomy inside this boot than is necessary. Like, there's an insole in there. I'd probably have to put another one on top of that and wear really thick winter socks to make these not feel like sloppy. The other thing is, these are both the same size. I wear a size 8. The SM Wholesale, I got a size 8. The What Price Glory, I bought a size 8. And the originals, I wear a size 8. The SM Wholesale reproduction is exactly the same as an original one. They fit just like, well, this is marked as 8 wide. These are original 8 wides, and they fit exactly the same. The What Price Glory is also considered an 8 wide. It fits more like an 8 double or triple extra wide, and it's shorter by about a half an inch. So I don't know if you can see that, but it's a shorter boot. It's not as long as an original one would have been. Now in Vietnam, they didn't do half sizes. They did like 8 and then jumped up to 9. If you wore an 8.5, you'd probably wear a size 9. Or no, you'd probably still fit a size 8 because they made them a little longer. But these, I think, are made to a modern size 8, so it's shorter, and there are no half sizes in the What Price Glory either. So the sizing is not accurate to an original jungle boot. Even the width is not accurate to an original size 8 wide. The sizing is just not right. The construction is just not quite there. So would I recommend these ones? I've had some Rothco jungle boots before, and Rothco I consider kind of a garbage boot. They last like 3 to 6 months. and then you throw them away. I consider the What Price Glory Jungle Boot to be the same quality as a Rothco. So like, I would only buy these if you're a Vietnam War reenactor and you need the early war type 1, 1962 through, like, you know, you'd see these, I'd assume, into like 65, 66 until these came out. I'd only buy this if you're a reenactor and you're only going to use these a couple times a year, like wear them to like 4 or 5 events or something. I wear jungle boots every day, all year round as my general footwear. So like, these will not cut it as a real boot, in my opinion. I think they'll last 3 to 6 months. And honestly, because of how weird the fit is, because of how wide they are and how short they are, you can't cinch this down tight enough to keep your foot from sliding forward and slamming against the toe of the shoe. Whereas these ones, like, you have a little extra room and you can cinch the laces down and keep your foot from sliding. Like, there's really nothing you could do short of putting another insole in there and wearing thick socks, and they still just feel like junk throwaway shoes. You know, as a reenactor, they meet a need for you. Like, if you're doing reenactments, they'll meet the need for accuracy. But as like general footwear, if you're just wearing them out and about and knocking them around, like, they're not a real shoe, or not a real boot. The other thing I've seen people comment is this heel piece of leather comes up higher than the original ones. That space right there is higher, which is true, but with the fit problems and the quality problems, like, it doesn't even really matter. So these to my door were $138. If I had the option between What Price Glory at $138 versus the SM Wholesale at to my door, I think they were $225, because I think they're $200 plus $25 shipping. I would save up the money for these ones. So with SM Wholesale at $225, I'd pick these all day long. Original jungle boots, if you can find a Vibrem sole jungle boot, you're probably looking at between, you know, $75 and $300, depending on which size you were hunting and if they're new, old stock, or used. So I'm gonna say average cost of a good Vibrem pair of jungle boots that are originals are probably about $150, $175. Could probably just round it. Let's just round it to 2. If you're buying new, old stock Vibrem sole jungle boots in a wearable size, expect to pay $200, but also expect the soles to break. I had some new old stock ones that I wore and thought they were fantastic, and they made it about 3 months, and then the soles broke, and then I put shoe goo in there and it broke again. Then I took it to a boot store, or a boot repairman. They put whatever magic glue they have in there and it still broke. So essentially my originals are unwearable unless I want to keep trashing them and breaking the sole. What can be done is, a lot of times shoe repair people will grind the entire sole off and put a modern Vibrem sole on it. At that point, you're losing the historic value of buying a Vibrem sole jungle boot altogether, and you're gonna pay more than you would for a Panama Sole Jungle Boot. So there's really no point in doing that. In that case, just buy one of these. And while I have you all here, this is a fashion replica. It's not a reproduction, it's just like an approximation, and it's a fashion jungle boot style made by Belstaff. So these, I think on the Belstaff website, are about $450. I got them on sale for $250. How do they compare to the SM Wholesale Jungle Boot? I think they are about the same quality. The canvas is a little bit softer and lighter on the bell staff than the SM Wholesale, but a lot of the stitching is nicer than the SM Wholesale. They use a Vibrem, modern Vibrem sole. So these are not for like reenacting purposes. These are just for like people who want this style, who are accustomed to this style and like it. And to show you the comparison in quality, they're not a $450 boot. I would not pay 450 bucks. I'd pay like, you know, 200, 250, whatever. I kind of felt a little scammed out at 250, but I'd say 225 is fine. Just to show you the comparison. The quality is very similar. Stitching's better than the SM Wholesale. The stitching's better on the bell staff. The rubber density is better on the bell staff. Leather quality is better on the bell staff. It's the right thickness leather as the original one. It's just done in a brown, which is not original. So for a casual boot, these feel like a real boot, and I'd expect to get, you know, 2 years or more out of them. SM Wholesale, maybe 1.5 years or 2 years. But like I said, we're talking about a disposable boot here. Like, they were originally, I think they were probably only designed to last 1 year or 2. So if it meets the original needs, I think the replica is good. So this, I think, would meet the needs of Vietnam era soldiers. I think you could literally take these back in time and they would be great. These ones, absolutely freaking not. Like, they look nice, but they're not a $138 boot after shipping. They feel like a $50 boot, honestly. They feel the same quality as Rothco, which is a $50 boot and wears out in 3 months, but you're paying an extra $90 for these so that you can have the historical accuracy of the stitching being in the right spot, the type 1 pattern with the, you know, leather back strap and the Vibrem sole. So yeah, I hope that helps. There's only one other Vietnam style Vibrem sole jungle boot that I haven't owned that I wish I could compare these to, but honestly, I have so many of these things that I don't need to buy them. But Pike Brothers, out of Germany, their boots are made in Turkey, I believe, and they make a version like this that does not have the spike protecting metal sheet in it. These are SM Wholesales, and it does have the metal sheet in it, but the Pike Brothers doesn't. And those are like $200, 250 bucks. I just don't want to spend $250 for a pair of boots just for the sake of comparing them, because these were a bit of a disappointment. So sorry for the long-winded video. If we're talking jungle boot reproduction shootout, SM Wholesale is the one to go. It's only, in the long run, what's that, 60, 85, it's only $85 more expensive. The SM Wholesale is only $85 more expensive than the What Price Glory, and this one, the SM Wholesale, is definitely going to last at least 5 times longer than those. Don't bother buying an original one with the Vibrem sole with the intent on wearing it every day. It's gonna break. If it doesn't, you've hit, you know, a miracle. Like I said, I've had 5 pairs of originals. They all broke. And yeah, so I know this video is a little bit messy and disorganized and there's boots laying everywhere, but I just wanted to post this and help you guys out, because I know a lot of reenactors and history buffs are looking at these 2 companies. And so yeah, I hope that helps. Thank you, folks. Have a good day.